Hello, hi everyone. Welcome to Aslan's monthly video publication. This is our Thoughts on the Round edition for the month of April 2026. My name is Alejandro Garza. I'm the founder and Chief Investment Officer for Aslan Equity Management. Thank you for joining. Thank you for watching. This is a monthly publication that we share with clients, with markets in general, just to share our thoughts related to markets, the outlook, what our models are suggesting in terms of allocations, and just what we're seeing in markets across global equity markets. As you know, we specialize in the small and mid-cap space and international equities, but we also have significant investments in the US. So for the month of April, and we're sitting towards the end of the month here. The good news is that markets have rallied or continue to rally after the risk-off environment that we had during February and March. First with the tariffs coming out of the White House, which are in general are negative, and they're inflationary and not constructive in any way for the global growth outlook. Then, the starting point, as we all know, was very high valuation levels coming into the first part of the year after a very strong 2025, really. And then we had the situation in Iran with disruptions to oil trade across the globe, resulting in increases in energy prices. And of course, that will come shortly, to be sure, in the form of inflation. So we need to keep monitoring that. But in the meantime, companies are reporting very strong results. And this is a trend that we have been seeing for the last couple of years. Strengthening in corporate earnings across the board in the US and international markets. But I think in particular in tech. Tech is really where we're seeing this strength. The Aslan strategies have been historically overweight. I would say the two largest overweights in terms of sectors would be industrials and tech. So we've been well positioned for this current environment that we're seeing right now. Global or general equity markets are jumping, around 10% this month. So we're seeing a very nice recovery, very nice risk-on environment. But the important thing here is that this is really driven by earnings growth and earnings beats. And we're seeing that, as I mentioned, across the board. That's not only in the US or in the mega caps, that's also in the small and mid caps. Actually, the small cap indices, the mid cap indices in the US are having a very strong rebound, which is something that we hadn't seen over the last 5 years, or maybe even more, even longer. So it's a very healthy environment where we're seeing this growth across the different market cap segments, different regions and countries, and different sectors. So the variable that we need to keep monitoring is inflation, as the impacts from energy price increases follow through the global economy. And in terms of corporate earnings, I think what is very notable is the continuation in the uptrend and in earnings growth and return on equity. If this is sustained, I think we can see a very strong equity market globally for the rest of the year. Obviously, we have to see what happens with inflation. In terms of the Aslan quant model and allocations, we're seeing an increase in large cap, decrease in SMIDs, and and in terms of the factors, what began as a trend in which the different fundamental factors, growth, cash flow, return on equity, had a very strong 2025. And remember, we saw that rotation from growth to value. That was a very clear rotation. What we're seeing now is a more muted effect from the different style factors, value growth, even ROE, and momentum taking a lot stronger stance in terms of the impact from the different factors that we have in our Aslan Quant model. So that's something that we're looking at in terms of the model performance, how it's working in this interesting environment where we see all these global risks, geopolitical risks, inflationary risks on the negative side, but on the positive side, we have very strong corporate earnings. That's what we're seeing in the model. And going forward, I think based on, and this is the variable that I suggest you look at, based on earnings revisions and the magnitude of the earnings revisions compared to where earnings are heading, I think there's enough strength in the fundamental outlook to sustain a healthy equity markets outlook. The expected return for the next 12 months is right around 10% for the U.S. Equity market in aggregate, and anywhere between 5 and 7% for global equity markets: Canada, Europe, the Nordics, Japan, Australia, and the UK. I think that's basically it for our thoughts on the run for the month of April 2026. Please go to our websites, aslanem.com, aslanetfs.com. Download our reports. We publish a ton of analytical reports and information that I think is useful in evaluating the investment outlook in general. Contact us. You can send me a message directly. My information is there on our websites. So I encourage you to also reach out and send me an email, send me a note. You can also find me on LinkedIn, and I'll be happy to engage in any market discussions, looking at fundamentals, looking at all these companies and technological advancements that we're seeing. I think it's a really exciting outlook that we're seeing for the next 12 to 24 months. Thank you very much. See you next time. Bye.